Okay, we're all tweeted out. Yo, everybody, what is good? Ari and Drake, what is up? You are first. What is good, everybody? It is your boy Lincoln Clay coming at you live. Let's all be one cohesive unit and hit the like button to help spread the content to a wider audience. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you can stay notified whenever I put out new content. I would appreciate that as well. And if you are a new subscriber, welcome to the channel. I hope you are enjoying the content. So, Bring Harmony, what is going on? Jamal Adams, what is up? What's good, everybody? Normally, when I get out of work, normally I would come straight home and take a nap. But fortunately, the new job that I'm doing right now, while the job requires a lot of my attention, so I can't listen to YouTube the way I'd like to. Um, the trade-off is that I'm not coming home super tired. And so because of that, I actually have enough gas to stay up and do a podcast right now. Connor Voss Gaming, what is up? Yeah, exactly, Connor. Thanks for the invite, for inviting me to the Creed boxing community. Guy Cole, what is up? Uh, so, and another reason why I wanted to do a podcast today is because a lot was on my mind today, and I definitely wanted to talk about it when I got home. Uh, as a lot of the Creed boxing game will unlock at midnight tonight. Some people have already gotten their hands on it, and they've already streamed. They've already been streaming gameplay. I'll give my thoughts on the game and whatnot, and I'm definitely going to stream at midnight. Normally, Impatient Fire, what is going on? Normally today is a day that I would normally go to the gym. I would come home, take a nap, get up, go to the gym. And if I'm not super tired, once I get home from the gym, I would do a podcast. But I'm not going to go to the gym today because I know that Creed game, when it comes out tonight, is going to wear me out, because it's going to give me some much needed cardio. I haven't been doing I haven't done Knockout League in quite a while because it's an okay game, but I like I like a little more realism. You know what I mean? With the Knockout League game, you know what? I'll save that for when we get to the Creed game. When I talk about the Creed game, as I said, before, a lot of stuff was on my mind today. And I definitely wanted to address the elephant in the room that's been a hot topic of the last couple of days. And it was recently revealed that the upcoming Devil May Cry 5 game will have microtransactions. I have not been following this, so I don't know what kind of microtransactions this game will entail. You'll probably get the Creed game for some more cardio. That's one of the biggest reasons why I'm getting this game, is for the cardio. But again, I'll get into that a little bit later. So, back to this situation with the Devil May Cry. As I was saying, I really don't know much about the microtransactions. I haven't really dug into it. I think through Sick Humor's podcast and a couple of other podcasts. I think from what I understand, the only reason why we even know about these microtransactions is because I guess there was a showing or a meeting or something like that with this game. And the people there were able to see that the game had microtransactions, and that's how it got out. And so that leads me to believe that Capcom was not going to tell the public about these microtransactions, which leads me to believe that if you're not going to tell gamers about microtransactions that are in a game, if you're not going to tell them about the microtransactions and you plan to keep that hidden, that tells me that either the microtransactions are a pay to win progression, or the game has loot boxes. And that's definitely what I wanted to talk about. The microtransactions are for the weak, only shameful practice. Uh, yeah. I mean, the thing, microtransactions. I absolutely despise loot boxes. Microtransactions, how I feel about them, how I feel about microtransactions, it is a game to game case because not all microtransactions are the same in every game. Some of them are cosmetic, some of them are pay to win progression. Um, and some of them, lock progression of a game behind some sort of microtransaction paywall. So it's a game by game basis. And as as the homies Sick Humor and Draco Rex pointed out, there's a difference between loot boxes and and microtransactions. And I'm okay with some microtransactions. I said it before. How I feel about the microtransactions depends on how intrusive they are. Um, there are some games that I played that have. There's several games that I played that have microtransactions in them, and they don't impede, progress of the game. They're not intrusive, so I'm okay with that. Some of the examples I give you, like even the firewall that I play, has cosmetic microtransactions, and basically all it is you know what? I haven't even looked at the microtransactions because um, all the stuff that interests me in firewall, Simply Deep, what is up? All the stuff that interests me in firewall can be bought with in-game currency. And so any any items for purchase of this game, you have to go to the PlayStation Store to see what's there, if anything's there. I've tried to take a look through the game itself, and it says content not available at this time, what have you. So I don't know what kind of microtransactions are there, but as far as in-game currency, you can once you level up to unlock a weapon, you can purchase that weapon with in-game currency. You can also use in-game currency to pay for camouflage and different colors and designs for your guns and for your apparel. So, I mean, so if the microtransactions and firewall are cosmetic, then I'm okay with that. There's another game, there's other games that have microtransactions that I don't really have a problem with. There was a big uproar about the microtransactions that was in GT Sport, and I didn't really have a problem with it because although the game did not have microtransactions in the beginning, it has microtransactions now. And I don't the one of the biggest reasons I don't have a problem with the microtransactions in GT Sport is because everything that's there for purchase, you can still buy it with in-game currency. And the game gives you a good amount of in-game currency. Unlike some Grand Theft Auto shit where you might want to buy a helicopter that costs $8 million, and you sitting here robbing people on the street, doing little petty crimes, and when you rob somebody, they only got $35 on them, and then after you rob them, you got the police after you in that game. And if the police end up killing you when you respawn, I think the game takes like 100, $200 from you as a hospital bill. So the robbery wasn't even worth it. And then these heists that you pull off, the heist has to be carried out to a T. And if any person fails any part of that heist, it is over. You have to start the whole thing over. And then as far as how the money is divvied up on those heists, the one that sponsors the heist is the one that's going to get the biggest cut of the money. So I've done a couple of those heists, and the one in particular that we did, we completed what we needed to do. My cut only ended up being about $40,000. And for how long we played to try to complete the heist, it wasn't worth it to me. And So because of that kind of shit, I just really stopped fucking with GT Sport, because you got this game where a lot of thugs want to live this high life. A lot of wannabe thugs are playing this game, wanting to live that high life, want to live that fantasy life of going out on the street, robbing people, and then come home to the $500,000 penthouse. What real person can live a life like that? Even though this is fantasy and it's a video game, video game still makes it difficult to live that life. So no, I don't really have any interest in playing Grand Theft Auto anymore. But again, the microtransactions, with the shark cards are in there. It's definitely something that I don't agree with, because that grind is so fucking bad that it's just quicker to just go ahead and pay for a shark card to get what you want. So no, I don't agree with that one. The microtransactions in GT Sport, as I was saying, the cars that are available for purchase, you can still get them with in-game currency. And then not only that, the majority of the cars that are available on these microtransactions, a lot of these cars cost 99 cents. So with GT Sport, I did pay for a microtransactions. I bought the Formula One car on there for $3. And the biggest reason why I bought that Formula One car, I had the money to buy that car. As far as in-game currency, I had the money to buy that Formula One car, but I wanted to save that money for something else. And I was just dying to try that Formula One car in VR. So I went ahead and dropped $3 to buy that car. I don't really, I didn't really think that was that big of a deal. Guy Code and Firewall, the grind isn't bad at all. I agree. In the beginning, Guy Code, the grind isn't bad at all, because it doesn't take a lot of XP to level up. But as you keep leveling up, the grind gets a little tougher, because in the beginning, you might only need, 3,000 XP to level up. But as you keep getting further and further, now I'm a level 25. And when I first hit level 25, I think it was going to take 17,000 XP to level up to level 26 and that's what I'm trying to get to, so I can get the revive pistol. But the grind and Firewall, Guy Code, isn't that bad as long as you're winning, because at the very least you will get 600 crypto, which is the in-game currency, and you will get 600 XP, which you need to level up to unlock items. So as long as you win, and the grind isn't that bad. But if you losing, nah, that grind is fucked up. So with Firewall, you definitely want to get on a good team, and with Firewall, to me, winning is more important than getting kills. So if you go out there on that Lone Ranger shit trying to get kills, and forgetting about the team and putting yourself first, trying to get those, trying to get as many kills as you can and shit like that, you're going to end up getting fucked up. And not only that, you kind of hurt your team in the end. So it's definitely in your best interest to play as a team and, put the team first and try to get that win, rather than trying to get a bunch of kills. To further talk about the microtransactions, I kind of said what I needed to say about the microtransactions. Again, it's a game by game case with me. Some are only cosmetic and they're not intrusive. Some of them are horrible, egregious, intrusive. So it's a game by game basis. But loot boxes, I absolutely despise loot boxes, so much to the point where any publisher who implements loot boxes, I would like to see them go out of business. And I think the biggest practitioners of loot boxes as we know it today are EA, Activision, and Microsoft. All three companies that I absolutely despise, and all three companies would not hurt my feeling if they were to go bankrupt and have to get out of gaming. But I know all three of those companies got enough dough that they're going to be around for a while. They continue to make games that are structured around loot boxes. It is not structured around the experience. It is structured around loot boxes, and they put up near insurmountable obstacles to get you to break down and pay for these loot boxes. And and to me, loot boxes are slot machines. You pay for those loot boxes, and you pull that arm and see what comes up on that slot machine. You have no idea what you're going to get. And that's why, loot boxes are so much more horrible than microtransactions. Microtransactions, for as fucked up as they may be, you still know what you're getting. Jay Wags, what is up? It's fucked up as Grand Theft Auto is with those shark cards. You know what you're getting. You can buy those shark cards and put it towards a purchase, via in-game money. Whereas loot boxes, you have no idea what you're going to get. Guy Code, you said Activision's method of microtransaction is getting bad, where they will put you in a situation where you will lose. Lincoln, is that Creed game multiplayer at all? Yes, it is. It is. Jay Wags, yes, it is. This game is online multiplayer. After I get done talking about these loot boxes, I do want to talk about the Creed game a little bit. I will talk about some of the things that I'm excited about as far as this game goes, and I will also talk about some of the things that I'm concerned about. The guy called to finish commenting on when you were talking about Activision. I think Activision filed, if you remember, Activision filed a patent for an algorithm for a matchmaking algorithm is the word that I want to use, that deliberately matches basically a novice against a pro. And then once you get your ass kicked by that pro at the end of the match, the game will reveal to you what weapons and what items that the higher level guy was using. And then, to entice you to buy those same items, feeling like that's going to give you a level playing field. That is a pay to win progression. And actually, truth be told, Activision is the worst out of all of them right now when it comes to loot boxes, because they have implemented loot boxes that center around a pay to win progression. They have loot boxes. These loot boxes are not cosmetic. They are not intended to be cosmetics. These loot boxes are intended to lure people in with the hopes. Ice Queen Gaming, how you doing? These loot boxes are intended to lure people in who are getting their asses kicked, who don't have that don't have the grit to want to get better. Veratron, what's up? They don't have the grit to want to get better, and they don't want to grind for the weapons. Ice Queen Gaming, glad that you're doing fine. So their loot boxes is bad enough that it's a pay to win progression. It's bad enough that I want to try to get that sniper rifle, so I feel like I got a fair chance. But I pay for loot boxes, and I got this fucking slot machine in front of me, and as soon as I pull that arm, I'm thinking to myself, chances are I'm not going to get that sniper rifle, but I hope I get that sniper rifle. And when I don't get that sniper rifle, then I pay again, so I can pull that slot machine arm again and see what happens. And there, so as far as Lunkin, what's up? As far as loot boxes goes right now, I would have to say that my Activision is a worse, because they've implemented loot boxes where you don't know what you're getting, but you hope it is something that will help you. I would probably say, EA was probably the second worst as far as microtransactions goes. Everybody knows that Star Wars Battlefront game was built from the ground up to implement loot boxes. And I think the big thing that killed, I think the big reason why Activision is still getting away with microtransactions and EA kind of is not, is because Activision saw what happened to EA when they got busted with that Star Wars Battlefront 2 fiasco. And they decided to keep their mouth shut and not say anything. EA made several mistakes. First of all, they put the beta out for people to play and thought people were probably too dumb to recognize that this game was structured around microtransactions. Either that or they just flat out did not give a fuck and probably thought the game was going to be so hot that people didn't give a shit that they was going to go ahead and pay for the microtransaction and just won't say anything. Whatever EA's thought process was, it was arrogant. And then when they faced that backlash, and truth be told, if it wasn't for Reddit, people may not have said anything. And that's another problem with microtransactions and loot boxes and shit like that, that a lot of people don't get outraged until somebody tells you to. And so I think with the loot boxes that were in Star Wars Battlefront 2, which that also, the loot boxes in there were also slot machines designed to suck people in the hopes of acquiring items or weapons that will either level the playing field or give them an advantage. Their loot boxes in that game were not cosmetic whatsoever. And I think what ended up, I think a lot of people would not have said anything about it if it were not for Reddit, if it were not for the people on Reddit blowing up. And when they lashed out at EA and gave it all those like 77,000 downvotes or something like that, instead of keeping their mouth shut, EA lied. They told lie after lie and talking about, they want people to have a sense of pride and accomplishment and all this kind of shit about the grind. And then as far as the loot boxes go, they're talking about they wanted people to have a choice and all this kind of shit. They just told lie after lie after lie. And it killed them in the end. And Activision sat there and watched that whole shit blow up right in front of them. And as much as I hate to say it, they did the right thing and kept their mouth shut and just kept putting their microtransactions out there. But they didn't say nothing. When they started catching all that heat on Call of Duty, they really didn't respond to it. The heat that they took on Destiny 2 was too much. They had to say something. But, they told lie after lie after lie after lie. And while Activision as a whole did not suffer for it, Destiny 2 did take a little bit of a hit. H player, Lincoln, ready for this Creed game? Already have it downloaded. I have already purchased the game, but I have not downloaded it yet. I'm not too worried about that because the file size for this game is only like 3.6 gigs or something like that. So even with my 25 megs down, it'll probably only take about a half an hour to download the game. So Christopher Hart, microtransactions were set up to give your opponents an easy edge up on you. If you don't buy the loot boxes, you get your ass kicked every time. But the thing about it is with the loot boxes, you or your opponent are not guaranteed to get what you want. It is designed to make you keep paying and paying and paying and paying until you get what you want. Because if it was if it gave you what you wanted when you bought it, it wouldn't be a loot box. It would be a pay to win microtransaction. and you would know what you were getting, and you know that, okay, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to get that sniper rifle. But in the case of Activision and EA, they put slot machines out there with the hopes that you're going to get something. Jay Wags, you said I'll wait and see from the gameplay I've seen of Creed. I don't know. There was one thing. I only watched 5 minutes. Polish Paul VR. He streamed it. And I only watched about 10 minutes of it. And from what I saw, he was playing against the computer. And from what I saw, I only had one concern. But I'll get to that too. And back to the loot box things, now this situation with Devil May Cry, I just looked at it as, another developer trying to dip into that pool, trying to oh, Jay Wags, you said your concern is going to be, that your headset's going to be foggy like hell. Yeah, that is a good concern, because once you start, once your body heat starts to rise, it gets hot inside that headset. H player. Oh, by the way, Lincoln, just a suggestion, since you should create a PlayStation community on it. No, I don't want to go through the hassle of trying to maintain a community and having to be the owner of it and having to watch over shit that people say, having to give the final approval of who gets in, and deciding that somebody broke the rules and having to kick them out. Connor Voss Gaming invited me to be part of his Creed community, which he is the owner of it. And so in that situation, I'd rather be a part of a community rather than run one. Because, I want to have fun and enjoy this shit. I don't want to be, having to be an administrator and shit like that and having to watch over everything. I don't want to have to watch so much shit that I don't have time to play it. But, hey, I mean, it's cool though. So about, the Devil May Cry loot boxes, I think that, again, as I said, it's just another developer, trying to dip his hand in that cookie jar, trying to get some, extra money. And I don't have a problem with everybody being upset with Capcom and what they just pulled. But my biggest problem is, it seems to me from all the backlash that I've seen and all the uproar that I've been hearing people talking about, it seems like people are acting like this is the first company that ever, put microtransactions, in. And so I don't, if you want to get on Capcom for putting these microtransactions in, cool. But spread that motherfucking love, because don't forget, don't forget the big boys are still implementing their microtransactions. And I'm speaking of, EA, Activision, and Microsoft. They are still implementing their microtransactions, which are egregious, intrusive. And I think that anytime you get upset about somebody else, somebody new jumping into this microtransaction shit, I don't think you can get mad at them without saying something about EA, Microsoft, and Activision, because they are the three worst right now. And so, and that was the biggest point of this podcast right now, is not to say anything about Capcom in particular, because, for one thing, I don't know the whole story about the microtransactions that they plan on implementing, whether it's going to be cosmetic or whether it's going to be a pay to win progression. So I'll have to hold out before I, give my 2 cents on them in particular. But this whole loot box situation, no, you cannot get mad at anybody else without showing the most outrage from Microsoft, Activision, and EA. Danish Gaming, what's up? So in my opinion, that every time the situation comes up with loot boxes and you want to get upset, whoever the new joiner is jumping into this loot box fray, you should only be 5% mad at them and like 95% mad at Microsoft, EA, and Activision. They are the three worst, and they are the three biggest entities. They all have enough money that whenever the community gets outraged, if they decide to back off of the loot boxes, they'll back off of them for a while. And then at some point, they'll put them back in. And me, myself, I contribute. I do not contribute to Activision in their loot boxes, and I don't contribute to EA in their loot boxes because I blatantly despise them. I blatantly, actually out of those three companies, I hate Microsoft the most because EA and Activision are implementing loot boxes. Microsoft is implementing loot boxes and still selling you a $500 console with no intentions of putting out quality content for this console. So they fucking you on both ends. They fucking you on three ends. They fucking you with the loot boxes. They fucking you with selling you that bullshit ass box that has no games. They fucking you by putting games behind a paywall and putting shit behind a paywall. They had Netflix behind the fucking paywall. You couldn't access Netflix unless you had Xbox Live. The only reason why they removed that shit is because of PlayStation, because you did not have to have PlayStation Plus in order to access Netflix or whatever. But if PlayStation would have went along with that shit, it would still be in effect on the Xbox. So they fucking you on three ends. And that's why I despise them more than anything. Their shady practices go all the way back to the first generation when the first Xbox came out. When the first Xbox came out, both the original Xbox and the PS2 had built-in DVD players. The PS2, you could use the PlayStation 2 controller as your remote. The original Xbox had a DVD playback kit that you had to buy in order to use the DVD player. If you did not have this DVD playback kit, the DVD player would not work. And I remember it like yesterday. That DVD playback kit cost $40. It came with a remote and it came with a scanner that you plug into one of the controller ports, and then you can use the DVD player. When Xbox Live first launched, you had to submit a credit card in order to access Xbox Live. You had to buy the Xbox Live starter kit, which came with a headset. It also came with a software disk that you had to download into the Xbox, and included into that software disk, the Xbox Live starter kit, as it was called. Also included in that, on that disk, was the Moto GT motorcycle game. And you had to implement a credit card in order to get on Xbox Live. No way around it. There were no prepaid cards back then. And then back when Xbox Live first started up, credit card companies were pretty stingy about giving people credit cards. Back then my credit card was fucked up, and not my credit card, but my my credit report was fucked up enough that I couldn't get a credit card back then. So when the OG Xbox launched and I had to submit a credit card in order to get on Xbox Live, I had to go to my mother and ask her if I could use her credit card, and I had to basically sign my fucking life away because my mother was very, reluctant and suspicious about submitting credit card numbers online. So she was very, very reluctant to do it. And I had to reassure her that if anything crazy happened, that I would pay her. And I said, basically, right now, all I need is the credit card number. As long as I pay for the Xbox Live like I'm supposed to, they won't touch your credit card. But that was really fucked up that they had to do that back then. And that was just some of the shady practices that Microsoft was implementing all the way back to the first generation. So Microsoft will never, ever quit trying to find ways of bleeding the fuck out of the consumer and not giving them shit for their money. So getting back to the loot boxes, currently, I think Activision is the worst. I think EA is the second worst. They have a really fucked up reputation that they deserve. And that's pretty sad when your reputation is so fucked up that on the E3 stage, after you show gameplay of Anthem, you have to let everybody know that the microtransactions in this game will be cosmetic. You couldn't let the game speak for itself because you knew everybody that was watching that gameplay were going to be concerned about microtransactions and loot boxes because that's just how fucked up your reputation is. And it is deserving. And now, and then Microsoft, even though I hate them the most, their loot boxes are the third worst. And I noticed the pattern with them. I think H player, you said you'll be playing Firewall till Creed tonight. That is my plan, H player. I plan on once I get done with this Andre 6K, what is up? Once I get done with this podcast, H player, I plan to either take a nap or play some Firewall for a little bit. Take a nap, get up again, maybe, I don't know, maybe about a half an hour, maybe about an hour before Creed unlocks. And then I'll play some Firewall myself. I don't know if I'll stream it or not, but I will definitely be streaming Creed at midnight. So the loot box situation with Microsoft, with Gears of War 4, you said Creed looks trash. You know, one thing, the J-Wags is, if you're talking about trash in terms of graphics, a lot of these games are going to have PS3 looking graphics. It is what it is. I've come to accept that. We won't see some super, super good looking shit until next generation. But I'm hoping the gameplay will be good. And that's what I'm banking on with this game. He said, I'm sorry, it does. That gameplay looks horrendous. Just flailing. That there are, J-Wags, there are a couple of concerns about Creed, and it was some bullshit that I actually saw, back on the Xbox, with the Kinect, when they had the Kinect Sports. The boxing on there has some, some exploits on there. It was some bullshit, I'll get to that. Christopher Hart, I think if you use microtransactions, there should be online matches just for people who use them and others who don't. That will never, ever happen. Especially with that patent that Activision filed. Moving forward, if you play an Activision game, the lower your level are, the tougher opponents they will match you up with in an effort to get you to cave in and buy microtransactions or loot boxes in their cases, in the hopes of getting an item that will level the playing field or give you an advantage. J-Wags, you said you're not even talking about graphics, though they are capable of it. Resident Evil 7 looks amazing. Yeah, so does I think so does Firepoint. I think Firepoint looks amazing too. I understand these PSVR games have cheaper budgets. They should be priced accordingly. $30 is too high for the game. Probably 1-2 hour campaign and then PvP. The PvP is the biggest reason why I'm buying this game, J-Wags, because I can tell you that if it didn't have online PvP, I would have played the wait and see game before I bought this game. I definitely would not have pre-ordered it. I probably would have waited it out for a week or two and see what everybody else is talking about. And if they would have said it was good, then maybe I would have waited until the game was on sale and bought it. But it does have online player versus player. And I want to be able to get my cardio in against live people. Knockout League, as I said before, fighting pirates and octopuses and androids and, mad scientists and shit like that on that game, it just felt like a goofy ass, romper room boxing game. Christopher Hart, Creed is $30. Jamal King, new DLC for the Surge is coming in October 2nd, 2018. So let me close up this loot box situation and talking about the egregious shit that, Microsoft is doing with Gears of War. They have these, my son, prime example, and I contributed to the bullshit that Microsoft does because I'm always paying for these microtransactions that my son's asking for. And it's really fucked up because, they have characters, my son's he was always asking me for microtransactions so he could try to get, characters in the game, Gary Carmine, Benjamin Carmine, whoever. And the only way you could have a chance to, first of all, those characters were in loot boxes. They were the only way you could get to those characters, where you had to buy loot boxes with real money and not in-game currency. You couldn't pay for those. You couldn't pay for those elite packs with in-game currency. You had to pay for them with real money. And these elite packs contained 5 cards. And basically it tells you that at the very least you may get a weapon skin, but at the most you may get one of those characters that you might be looking for. But it doesn't, the only thing it really guaranteed was the weapon skin, which is cosmetic. So I noticed that case in point, like Gary Carmine, when my son was trying to get that character, I ended up paying, I probably paid about $70 for that fucking shit, because the elite packs were they started out at $10. I think these elite packs start out at $10, and they've got $20 elite packs. And I think I bought 7 of those elite packs before my son finally hit Gary Carmine. He finally hit the jackpot on the 7th pull. I spent $70 on a fucking character. On a character that should be included in the game for free. That is the kind of shit that I'm talking about, and that is the kind of shit that I pray to God Microsoft goes bankrupt. I want them out of here. And I don't want to hear any of that shit about we need them around to compete, so Sony don't get big-headed. Look what is going on right now. Sony is pumping out game after game after game after game. And Sony is not implementing loot boxes in these games. Sure, they made an arrogant statement about crossplay, about they don't need to do it because it's the best place to play, but they're not putting any loot boxes in their games. You tell me, anybody in here, you tell me one PlayStation game that has loot boxes in them. Sure, they got games that's got microtransactions, but you tell me one game where they have loot boxes in it, where you pay for something and you get 5 fucking cards thrown at you that looks like a goddamn slot machine. You don't see any in these PlayStation games. And that's another reason why I have high praise for what they're doing. They are putting out single player content, and they're not putting you in a position where you have to pay for microtransactions to see the ending of a game, like that bullshit that Warner Brothers pulled with Shadow of War, when they put those microtransactions in the game. They made that grind, from what I heard, that grind was so fucking bad that basically you could not see the ending of the game unless you bought a microtransaction. And then, when the game started slowing down on sales and shit like that, here they come acting like, oh, they saw the light, and acting like they realized that microtransactions was wrong. So they taking microtransactions out, like it was for the betterment of gaming. To use the words of Sick Humor, a big fat fuck you to Warner Brothers and that bullshit ass game. A big fat fuck you from the bottom of my dick. Just like Sick Humor said, fuck them bitches. Fuck Microsoft. They some hoes. They can suck my ass while I'm shitting. Fuck Activision. Fuck EA. And a borderline fuck you to Ubisoft. I hate them motherfuckers. Some mornings I wake up hearing, hoping that some Enron type shit happened to Microsoft, where somebody within the organization stole $1 trillion and now these motherfuckers got to file for bankruptcy. I hate Microsoft with a passion. I think Microsoft is the corporate infomercial. Got Major Nelson faggot ass, always with them white gloves on, showing bullshit ass controllers. Never talking about games. It's always controllers. Microsoft is a damn infomercial that's up where you change the channel and you come across a channel at 3 a.m. and they selling you these goddamn cubic zirconias and act like it looked just like a diamond. Try to sell you that motherfucking State of Decay and try to call that a AAA experience. Microsoft is some bitches. I hate them motherfuckers. I try to stay away from using that word with Microsoft, but I hate them motherfuckers. I hate Microsoft. I hate EA. I hate Activision. And I broke down and had to put my tail between my legs and came back to them bitches, but I hate Comcast. But what AT&T was doing was so fucked up that I had no choice. I ended up having to take the lesser of the two medicines. I don't hate AT&T, but I hate the problems that I was having with them. I outright hate Comcast. Vera, winner, chicken dinner. Microsoft, and this, I'm not trying to corporate slave, I'm just being honest. In my opinion, Microsoft, Activision, and EA has made it a terrible time to be a gamer. And, and Activision used to be a household name. Activision's been around forever. I remember back in the days, I'm 51 years old. I'm 51 years old. And I said it before on God knows how many occasions. I pretty much seen the evolution of gaming. And I remember way back when I used to play the Atari 2600. Activision was a household name. It was one of my favorite developers for, the Atari 2600. I thought they had a few good games, with Pitfall being my favorite game. And Activision was one of those companies where back then, every time I seen a commercial for one of the games, I was like, hey, as soon as I get paid, I'm going to get that game. Is the catchphrase always Nelson always says, fuck him. Fuck him. That dude looked crooked as fuck. He got this straight deadpan look to him when he holding up them controllers with the white gloves on. The dude looked crooked as fuck. Major Nelson looked like one of those dudes that'll sell you an Xbox and you get home and plug it up and the shit don't work. And when you pull out a screwdriver and crack it open, it ain't no guts in it. He just sold you a skin. And Major Nelson strike me as one of the motherfuckers where Phil Spencer don't have to tell him what to do. He already know what the fuck to do. You know, them other bitches, Mike Ybarra and Aaron Greenberg, they just, you know, motherfucking yes men. And they do what the fuck, you know, they do what the fuck Phil Spencer tell them. Every time Phil Spencer opened his mouth, you know, within 2 or 3 weeks, you can bet your bottom dollar that Aaron Greenberg or Mike Ybarra is going to open their mouth right behind him. Aaron Drake, facts. Activision gave us Crash. One good thing I can finally say about them, nothing else. Vera, he's Vera. Sorry about the shitty grammar. I'm using my phone. Hey, no problem. Christopher Hart, Microsoft. Oh, we're not selling games, but we're still making money. That right there, Christopher Hart, that is the ultimate slap in the face. And that should be one of the biggest reasons that gamers should be outraged with Microsoft. And that shit right there should be the biggest reasons that gamers should be telling Microsoft either provide some content for us or get the fuck out of the gaming business. Get out of here. I want them out of here. You know, King Thrash was one of the first people to say that, you know, we might be better off with Microsoft getting the fuck up out of here. I echo that 1,000 times. I don't think Microsoft should leave the industry. I want them to leave the industry, but they won't. They make it too much money off these dumb motherfuckers that's buying their shit. You know, because they too busy, you know, sucking Phil Spencer dick. Who the fuck goes out of their way to buy a goddamn console for $500 knowing that the shit don't have no damn exclusives? When the Xbox One X first launched, I was giving people, you know, whoever had planned to buy that console, I gave them a pass. Because a lot of them bought that console under the presumption that there would be compelling exclusives coming down the line. And I kind of bought into that myself, even though they had a suspicious looking E3 where they showed us the same goddamn Gears, Forza, and whatever. And then they showed us a fuckload of indie games. And my thought process was that lineup don't look like it's worth buying that console. But I had planned to buy the Xbox One X for the sole purpose of the high fidelity VR that they promised us. And when they never followed through with it, my only reason for buying that console went out of the window. But for everybody else who had bought that console, I still gave them a pass because they probably bought it under the assumption that there would be compelling exclusives coming down the road. But as time went on, what we were getting, we got a broken PUBG, numerous crackdown delays, bullshit ass State of Decay that looked like shit and ran like shit. A kitty ass Super Lucky's trash. And now they about to get a downgraded Forza 4 Horizon. Arian Drake, Microsoft will never return to caring about putting gamers first. Its controllers are nothing. But the thing about it is as much as that infuriates me, how can I get mad at them when these dumb motherfuckers keep on buying these controllers? Man, did you see that new grease-proof controller? I can't wait to get that. Really, my dude? Who the fuck is eating chicken while they're playing a game? Even if the fucking controller is grease-proof, you're not going to be at your best because your hand is slipping all over the fucking controller. You have to be a complete idiot to try to play a first-person shooter or some kind of competitive game that requires split-second reaction. Split-second reaction means you got to have a firm grip on that controller. Now, who the fuck gonna do that? Shadow Spade, Lincoln, what are you talking about? The goalposts have been moved. That's what Microsoft, that's all they do is move the motherfucker. You know, not so much Microsoft, but the X-Thoughts. They always moving the goalposts. You know, and you know, this fake 4K versus fake 4K, that's just the flavor of the month. They're gonna find somebody, they're gonna find something else to talk about to try to cut down the value of the PlayStation. They're gonna try to find some other shit to say. So, you know, the X-Thoughts can eat a dick too. If you toxic and you one of them people jumping up screaming about Puddlegate, and you one of those people that was persistent about insisting that this game was downgraded, if you were one of those people who was crying that, you know, that we deserve to have this game on your platform, you too. You can suck my ass while I'm shitting. Fuck you. So, like I said, you know, so going back to what I said about this loot box shit, don't just trip out on Comcast, I mean on Capcom. Go in on everybody, especially Microsoft, EA, and Activision. They deserve the most heat every single time this loot box controversy comes up. Do not go off on Comcast and act like Microsoft ain't out there. They're the most, you know, Activision is the worst. EA is the worst, second worst, and Microsoft is the third. How the fuck does a company who makes hardware has one of the worst reputations for software implementations? They got a fucked up reputation for putting out bullshit ass products, and they got a fucked up reputation for implementing loot boxes in their games. They tried to put the loot boxes in Forza Motorsport 7. But the thing about the racing community is not very big. Only a select few are going to buy those games. And then you piss them off. Oh, shoot. That's my mother. I'll call her back after this podcast because, I'm in the middle of this shit. So, oh, well, like I said, I'll call her back in a minute. So like I said, Microsoft got a triple fucked up reputation. Implementation of loot boxes, overpriced, underperforming hardware, and putting content behind paywalls. So if you factor in all of those, Microsoft is the worst of the three. If you factor in all three of those, because they implement shady practices with their hardware. They implement shady practices with their software. They implement shady practices with their services. Whereas, Activision and EA, we're just dealing with loot boxes with them and the pay-to-win progression. So, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. When somebody does something like that and they implement some shady ass shit, I want to see them go out of business. Unfortunately, that will never happen because this is from a corporate standpoint, America is the most corrupt country on the face of the fucking planet. The government and these corporations are sucking each other's asses. I wipe your ass, you wipe mine. Ice Queen Gaming. Sony has done well with the exclusives this year. And I'll say it again, Ice Queen Gaming. Sony, and I'm not white knighting for them, and I'm not corporate slaving for them, but I'm telling it like it is. Anybody in this chat Tell me a PlayStation exclusive that has loot boxes. I'm not talking about microtransactions. I'm talking about loot boxes. I'm talking about slot machine shit, just like you saw on Star Wars Battlefront 2, just like you see on Call of Duty. Straight slot machine shit, straight loot boxes. What Sony exclusive has those? I cannot think of a single one. And the microtransactions that we do know about on the Sony's exclusives are not a pay-to-win progression. The only thing I can probably come close to thinking that might have a pay-to-win progression, microtransactions on Sony's part, is The Last of Us. Those microtransactions to buy the crossbow, the El Diablo gun and shit like that, those are $1. Those microtransactions are $1. Those microtransactions right there, wow, maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. But even if you purchase those items, they don't come loaded. You still have to make your way around the map and collect enough parts from those toolboxes to be able to purchase the bullets for El Diablo or to get the arrows for the crossbow. So the couple of little microtransactions that you might see in a Sony exclusives is not as egregious as all the other bullshit that we've been seeing. How many people do you think would buy Spider-Man if they would have pulled some bullshit like Warner Brothers did with Shadow of War, where they put the ending of a game, behind a paywall, where you have to pay for microtransactions to see the end of the game? Sony trying to make their money just like everybody else, but they not crossing the line just like these other motherfuckers are doing. That's facts. Sony's made it a great time to be a gamer. I've said that a bunch of times. You have your handheld with the Vita. You have a handheld with the Vita. You have your flat screen games, those ton of exclusives, all those gorgeous looking exclusives on a, I guess, perceived underpowered console. And you have VR, which I love because they've given me an affordable option in a genre that I've always wanted to explore. Sony has made it a great time to be a gamer. Whereas Microsoft, EA, and Activision, everything they do, you have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to look for something fucked up. There ain't shit coming out on the Microsoft end, on the EA end, on the Activision end, where they put it out and I'm like, man, I can't wait to play that. No, you have to look the shit over with a microscope to see if it's got microtransactions. Ice Queen game, I'm looking forward to playing Days Gone, but the hits keep coming from Sony. Ice Queen Gaming, Days Gone, Death Stranding, and I think they're going to close the year out with The Last of Us 2. Jamal King, what's my thoughts on Nintendo? Same deal. If you're going to get mad at them for making you to pay online, however mad you are at Nintendo, you need to be 5 times as mad at Microsoft and probably 4 times as mad at Sony. Because although you paying for PlayStation Plus, they do at least allow you to play some games without PlayStation Plus. There are some online games that does not require PlayStation Plus. Well, Microsoft, on the other hand, everything that is online multiplayer is behind a paywall with Xbox Live. Even the free fucking Fortnite game. They screaming for crossplay, but they won't let that fucking game be free that they're pushing the crossplay for. So suck my dick, Microsoft. And that's why I've been relatively silent about the Nintendo situation. Because if you open that can of worms with me, I'm not going to say a whole lot about Nintendo. Sooner or later, they was going to jump on this shit. And I think the $20 asking price reflects what kind of online structure that they have. I don't have a Switch. I don't plan on buying one, at least until they go down to what I feel is a reasonable price. Therefore, I'm not going to really holler that much about what they're doing. But I'm going to go the fuck off on Microsoft. And in certain situations, I will give Sony a little bit of heat. You know what's fucked up? You know what's fucked up, Robert McLeod? You said it should be a countdown to the end of Xbox where it no longer exists. You know what's fucked up, Robert McLeod? Every now and then when I hear about some crazy motherfucker walking into a post office and shooting up the goddamn post office, I was like, man, why didn't they walk into Phil Spencer's office and get him and his band of bitches? That's a fucked up thought, but it's fantasy. It's fantasy. Jakku, Taudikin 2 Free Alliance version has microtransactions. PS4, not the full version. You know, Jakku, I said it before. Microtransactions, I don't care who it's coming from, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, EA, whoever. A microtransaction, I'm not going to just jump up and explode about a microtransaction. It's a case. It is a game by game case with me, because not every single microtransaction is the same. I don't have a problem with cosmetics microtransactions because it gives the developer an extra avenue to try to make a few bucks without trying to fuck up my experience of the game. So, you know, so in closing that shit, now y'all know I hate the motherfuckers with a passion. I want to see Microsoft, Activision, EA go out of business. I want to see their stocks fall like a motherfucker. So that, you know, for the moment, that closes my thoughts on the state of microtransactions and loot boxes. Short story long, in my opinion, whenever somebody pops up with loot boxes, don't go the fuck off on them without throwing Microsoft, EA, and Activision in the mix. So now that that's over, let's talk about something a little more positive. Let's talk about the countdown to Creed VR. You said, when was the last time we had any corrupt American companies go out of business? Maybe that Enron company, because whoever stole those hundreds of millions of dollars from them broke their fucking back. I don't know what their state is right now, but, you know, I know it put the hurting on them. Then you had that motherfucking, I think it was BP, with that fake ass oil spill, where you seen that pipe coming out of what looked like an indoor pool, spewing out all this black shit out of a pipe. And they talking about they can't stop it. That is bullshit. If you found a way to put that shit down there in the first place, then you know how to stop the shit. How the fuck you gonna put something underground, underwater like that in the fucking ground and don't have a fucking safety valve on it? Don't have a damn shutoff valve. I hate American companies. I hate them. I hate American corporations. They the greediest motherfucking corporations on earth. They are the most egregious. They are the most anti-consumer. They are the most ruthless. And we have a government that won't do a fucking thing about them. You know, speaking of our government, that is really pathetic. That it took a country that I barely even heard of in Belgium to do something about EA. When Belgium was the first country to declare loot boxes gambling, and then other countries started joining in. Myself, I think America didn't want to get involved in that shit because, you know, I'm sure our government and EA is sucking each other dick because they are a huge corporation. But when they finally did get involved in it, the shit was just PR. Because if they don't get involved in it, then a bunch of people going to be looking at our government like, wait a minute, how come y'all ain't jumping in on this shit? They jumped in it because too many other countries jumped in it, and they don't want to look like somebody that promotes loot boxes by not doing anything. They had to get involved. And then the thing about it is, our country ain't involved. A fucking state is involved. I don't hear nothing about our government getting involved. You know, a fucking state is, you know, acting like they trying to do something about that shit. That is a goddamn shame that it took a bunch of countries not named the United States to have to do something about this fucking company. I mean, EA was so fucking bold that they had the balls to say that no, we not getting rid of loot boxes. Somebody gave them a reason to feel invincible that they telling numerous countries that is about to launch a criminal investigation against them. Then no, we not stopping this shit. I mean, EA sounded like motherfucking, you know, madmen for a second saying they not getting rid of loot boxes, even though they staring criminal investigations in the face. They sounded like motherfucking dictators. No, EA, you say, Jakku, you say EA is more corrupt than USA. If you meant EA is corrupt because of the USA. They do anti-consumer and egregious shit all over the fucking country. But America is this stomping grounds. That's where they do the most shit, and that's where they get away with the most shit. Because our government allows it. As long as, you know, these big corporations keep throwing the government a few dollars, they're going to let them do what they want. You said Tencent is way worse. Jakku, I don't know who the fuck that is. I never heard of them. I'm speaking of companies who I have interactions with. On a corporate level, I think it's probably a toss-up between Microsoft and Comcast as to who's the worst. From a gaming perspective, I think Activision is the worst. Samuel, yeah, you're right. We got to do our part and stop buying microtransactions, loot boxes, and all that garbage for it to get better. But it's never going to happen. And I've admitted it before. I'm part of the problem. I continue to pay for microtransactions for my son on Gears of War. Last night, I finally had to put my foot down, and I told him on this Call of Duty Black Ops, we will not be purchasing microtransactions because it's going to be full of motherfucking loot boxes. And if there's if he's trying to get a suppressor for his gun or something like that, you're going to end up having to, buy, a minimum of 5 loot boxes before you have a chance to get that suppressor. Chances are, my guess is, these microtransactions, these loot boxes in Call of Duty are probably going to cost a minimum of $5. All the shit that I just talked about today, all that shit culminated in me wanting to get rid of my Xbox. And the only, I have the standard Xbox One, the vanilla one, the original one that launched in 2013. And it didn't take long for me to see that Microsoft was up to their old bullshit. I think by the time 2014, 2015 hit, I seen that Microsoft was up to their old ways. When you had problems with the party chat, when you had problems with games freezing up and all that kind of shit, the 24-hour check-in, all that bullshit that Microsoft was pulling in the beginning. Said Microsoft was up to their old shit again. And it didn't take me long to decide that I did not want to be part of this ecosystem, but situations caused me to purchase more than one Xbox. And I can honestly tell you that, again, that if it was not for my son wanting to play Gears of War and the share feature with the Xbox, I would have gotten rid of my Xbox by now, never looked back. But I promise you, when the next generation hits, I don't know if I'll buy my son this Xbox Scarlet or not. But I promise you, I won't be buying one. Eat a dick, Microsoft. Fuck you. So I was supposed to have been done with that subject a little bit ago. Now let's go ahead and talk about Creed boxing. Some of my concerns and whatnot. On a brighter note, I'm excited about this game from a standpoint that it is going to be online player versus player. At first I said that this game is going to knock down another door in VR, because there's still doors that can be knocked down in the VR genre. When we have a full-blown sports game, when we have a full-blown NBA Live, NBA 2K type game, when we have a full-blown Mad type game in VR, a full-blown MLB The Show game in VR, those are still huge barriers that I'd like to see get knocked down. Firewall was a huge barrier that got knocked down, and I mean huge. Probably the biggest barrier of them all, because first-person shooters dominate the gaming landscape. And I've said it before, and I said it again. How much better can it get to play that in VR? If it get any more realer than that, you would be in the woods playing paintball, or you would be on the actual battlefield getting shot at. So Creed it kind of knocks down another door, but it doesn't. Glad you're back, Jamal Adams. Creed knocks down another door in a sense that, we're getting boxing in VR, and it's online multiplayer. That door has been knocked down, but in the same breath, that door has already been knocked down because, as much as I hate to admit it, Microsoft sort of knocked that door down a while ago with Connect Sports. Connect Sports had, the track and field, had the boxing, and I forgot what other games that Connect Sports had on it, but it had boxing on it and it was online, but it was really fucked up the way it was implemented. Jamal King, by the way, do you play fighting games? Yes, I do. I mean, not like I used to, because before there was such a thing as online gaming, all I played was Tekken and Virtual Fighter. Those were my favorite games. Like first person shooter games didn't even exist to me. Pretty much until there was such a thing as online gaming. I think the Sega Dreamcast was the first game that introduced me to an online shooter when I played Quake 3 Arena. But I think, Creed brings us one step closer to something like that, a fighter game in VR. There's supposed to be another VR game coming out. I forgot what it was called, but it's basically you're aliens on a ship and you're basically, boxing, bare knuckle fighting, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, we're moving closer to that. Doors are still getting knocked down. Let me see here. I don't know who the hell that is. I'm not going to answer that. But again, that door has already been knocked down in the sense that, Connect Sports, Microsoft did that with Connect Sports. While it wasn't, full blown VR, it was still a little bit interactive, but the shit was garbage because it wasn't a real boxing game. The game put the two combatants in the center of the ring and you just went at it. You couldn't move around the ring. You couldn't navigate around the ring. And Stardust Acero, what is up? You couldn't move around the ring. So it's basically you just go at it and just wail away. And you couldn't fight. You couldn't do real boxing on that Connect Sports. I tried it. I tried jabbing people and trying to set up the big right hand and shit like that. But instead, the most effective way to fight on there was to fight like a bitch and swing your hand all over the damn place, swinging your hands like windmills. That's how I was beating people on Connect Sports. I was like, this ain't real boxing. So now, fast forward to Creed. What I did see with Polish Paul's stream was, as far as the gym part of it goes, you can actually move around in the gym. You swing your arms just like you do on the Planet of the Apes games. You swing your arms to walk around the gym, to simulate walking. So when I first saw that, my hopes were that you would be able to move around the ring, in an actual fight. Because if they implement something like that, then styles are going to make fights, because it's going to be a ton of different styles that people are going to, fight with. But if it's a game where you're putting two people in the middle of the ring and they can't navigate around the ring, and you're putting them in the middle of the ring and they're just going at it, it's going to be some bar brawl shit, And that's the part that concerns me, because it's not going to be real boxing. Everybody just going to be swinging wildly, and it's not going to look like a real boxing match. It's going to look like, like I said, it's going to look like some Connect Sports shit. But nonetheless, I'm still going to buy the game because I'm still excited for the online multiplayer, the online player versus player. And I think and it'll give me a reason to get back into my cardio, because the job that I'm doing right now is not very physical. And it actually showed, because I haven't been to the gym in about a month. My diet has been fucked up. So, there's a little bit of a rump at the bottom of my shirt. So I need to get back at it and get some cardio in. And, while that Knockout League was okay for cardio, I think it was not good as a pure boxing game. because again, you fighting pirates and octopuses and mad scientists and androids and you know, um, witch doctors and shit like that. And each one of them has a distinct fighting style. And once you figure them out, it was easy to beat them. And not only that, this game was not a real boxing game in terms of the rules. You did not fight 3-minute rounds for 12 rounds in Knockout League. You had one round that lasted like 5 or 6 minutes. After that 5 or 6 minutes is up, if the fight didn't end by knockout, then they determine the winner. So with that being said, now the other than cardio, because the knockout league, after every fight, you look up in the upper left hand corner, and the game will show you how many calories you've burned. And that's really all the game was good for to me, was cardio. But now with Creed, I still cardio is still going to be the biggest reason for me to purchase this game. But to be able to do it against live competition will make it a little bit easier for me, to get up off my ass and, like, hey, I need to do some cardio. I need to burn some calories. It'll be a little bit easier to get up and do it against live competition, instead of going up against a computer that I've already fought him before, I already know his patterns, and I already know how to beat him before the fight even starts. Therefore, when you know how to beat the computer, you're going to work less, because you're going to take the path of least resistance to beat them. With live competition, with everybody fighting different, there's an adjustment to be made in every single fight. So, so in a nutshell, that is my concern about Creed, is whether you can move around in the ring or not. Because if you can move around in the ring, then you can fight like a true boxer, because some boxers stick and move. They use the jab and they move around the ring. They use the ring. Some people are stalkers and they walk their opponent down to get him in the corner and try to beat the fuck out that body. But if you have a boxing game where two people are just thrown in the middle of the ring and they can't move around the ring, and you just stand there and throw bombs at each other, to me, it's just going to look like, it's going to look like a fucking Rocky fight right in the middle of the ring. It ain't going to be no strategy to it. You just going to throw bombs at each other. Nonetheless, though, I'm still going to buy the game, and I'm still going to stream it at midnight. And because cardio is going to be the biggest reason why I plan on, playing this game, I'm going to make it a point to try to play the game at least 2 times a week to get my cardio in. So, but still, it's another, so to speak, it's another barrier that's been knocked down. VR is still advancing. It's still knocking down doors. I think by the time we get to the next, hopefully by the time we get to the next generation, the majority of genres that are out there will have been, hopefully they'll have conquered that, or whatever you want to call it, from the VR standpoint. I think by the time the next generation starts, when this generation ends, I think full-blown sports game will probably be the only games out there that, we wouldn't be able to get a complete experience out of on VR. Because I don't think that the current hardware is just there yet. But I think, with the rumored power that the PS5 is going to have, and what we're learning about this VR headset that they filed a patent for, I think it's going to be possible. It's just a matter of whether the developers are going to see a market for it. I think with the success of Firewall, I think there's a pretty strong chance that, EA, Ubisoft, and Activision will go ahead and take, go ahead and dip into VR. They let somebody else fall on the grenade, and now that they see that first person shooters will thrive in the VR market, I think they'll be ready to get on board with it next generation. Guy Code, we'll catch you later. I'm about ready to wrap this up myself here pretty soon. I got to call my mother back because I already know, my mother's analog, in terms of knowing how to do shit, that involves electronics. Robert McLeod, VR on Xbox, awesome. Oh wait, pretty much. So yes, I still am looking forward to playing Creed tonight, and I will be streaming at midnight. So I'm only going to stream for about an hour because I'm doing 10-hour shifts right now, and I have to be at work at 5 in the morning. So I'll stream it at midnight, but I'm probably only going to be on streaming for about an hour. But at the same time, I wanted to go ahead and do this podcast now rather than do that shit like I did with Firewall when I had that 5-hour countdown to Firewall. I'm not doing anything like that because I am not near as hyped for Creed as I was for Firewall. I think Firewall lived up to every bit of the hype, and I think the game was worth every penny. Creed, I don't know. Maybe it might be a little bit pricey at $30. Maybe I think maybe the game should cost $20, maybe even $15. But it is what it is. I'll go ahead and get it. Jamal Adams, we'll catch you later. So I'd like to thank those of you who sat through my rant. You see, Leaking Creed kick some ass. All right, Connor. I hope you'll be playing at midnight too, man. But I want to thank everybody who sat through and listened to me rant. I mean, I haven't gone on too many rants lately. In terms of what the X thoughts are doing, I mean, they lost their fucking minds over there. I mean, they grasping at so many straws, trying to find a way to devalue the PlayStation platform and not worrying about their own problems over there. I'm having so much fun on my PlayStation and the options that I have that I've almost forgotten about the X thoughts. And today's rant was directed at the publishers and the corporations, and not so much the mindless X thoughts. They're lost. So, I don't really have too much to say about the X thoughts the way I used to, because I used to go out of my way to find shit to say about them. But, the crap gamers, the Code Eastwoods, all them dudes, they do what they do. I'm not gonna waste my time or breath on dudes like them. We know what they about. We know they propaganda dudes. We know they lie, and they never gonna stop because it's to get whatever little YouTube money they get, to try to get whatever little views they get, whatever. So they do what they do. It is what it is. But I'm getting ready to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for watching and sitting through that rant. I've used pretty strong language. I don't take it back because that's how I feel about those corporations. That's how I feel about Microsoft, Activision, EA, Comcast, American corporations in general. Don't take back what I said. But, again, Sony's made it a good time to thanks, Impatient Fire. I appreciate it. Sony's made it a great time to be a gamer. I'm having a ball of my life. I mean, I'm having the time of my life. And truth be told, Sony is a huge reason. Like between my girlfriend and Sony, those are the two biggest reasons why I ain't really made it to the gym in about a month. So, for the most part, maybe I lost a little bit of size, but more than anything, that rump down there by the waist. That's been the biggest byproduct of me not making it to the gym. So we got to do something about that. So we'll definitely get back in that gym here soon. Connor Voss Gaming, you hope Creed will be one of the company's best games out of Sprint Vector raw data in Creed. Hey. He says Sony beating up the Whippy Kid Xbox. You know what, Robert McLeod? Microsoft is not even fighting Sony. What they are is that kid that's sitting up on the porch talking shit, but won't come up. He won't come off that porch and fight. Bring your ass off that porch. I bet you I'll whoop your ass. No, I don't have to. But you're still an asshole. You know, I can still beat you. Well, get your ass off the porch and prove it. I don't have to come off the porch. That's Microsoft. They won't come off that porch, but they keep running their mouth about what they think they're going to do to you. And then they got to call people, running the house, get on the phone and call people to come over to help them fight Sony. Run in the house and call Bethesda. Call Warner Brothers. Hey, Sony's standing in front of my house on the sidewalk. You think you can come over and help me with him? J-Dog, what's up? That's exactly what Microsoft doing. They're not fighting. They're standing on the porch, running their mouth and calling everybody they can to help them come fight. Knowing that they don't want that motherfucking work. So, I don't know. In my opinion, seeing Sony whoop Microsoft's ass is one of the best things that has happened to gaming. The good guys won. Yeah, they might have got a little bit dirty every now and then with some of the shit that Sony's done. Yeah, they might have got a little bit dirty every now and then, but for the most part, they was the good guys, and they beat the bad guys. They beat the villains. Only problem is the villain won't, he won't shut his mouth. You whoop his ass. He says, "Let me up." I give up. He gets up, runs down the street, turns around and yell at you a fucking asshole, and then run home and jump his ass up on that porch and won't come off the porch no more and call his friends to come help him fight. Bethesda, Warner Brothers, I need y'all help. Mike Ybarra, Mike Greenberg, go out on that sidewalk and whoop Sony ass for me. They doing the same thing. Mike Ybarra and Mike, and Aaron Greenberg. Phil Spencer said go whoop their ass. So what they did was they didn't quite come off the porch. They came to the bottom of the steps, but they won't walk their ass out in that street because they don't want none of Sony. So they at the bottom of the steps talking shit. They scared of Sony too, but they walked down to that bottom of the steps and started running their mouth because Phil Spencer told them to, because he's standing up on that front porch and won't get his ass off that porch and fight. Mike Ybarra can eat a dick. Him and Aaron Green Booty. Fuck both of them motherfuckers. And fuck that shit, the airhead ass Shannon Loftus if she still worked for him too. But we get ready to get on out of here though. Shout out to my homies. Shout out to my YouTube homies, King Thrash, Sick Humor, Draco Rex, the whole round table. Motherfucking Diver, Phantom Mephisto, Ian Robinson. Shout out to the PlayStation Plus podcast. Shout out to Titanfall Princess, Porter Rock, Ryan the Professional, all my YouTube friends. Shout out to everybody. But I'm gonna get it ready to get on out of here. I thank y'all for watching. I probably say I'll probably be back in a few hours. I'll probably be back on maybe 10 o'clock, 10:30, and stream some Firewall until it's time for Creed. And then we'll stream Creed, close the night out like that. So that's gonna do it for me. Thanks everybody for watching. And as I always say, if you happen to catch the replay of this, give it a like. Lock the door on your way out. I want to thank everybody for coming to Wakanda. And I will catch y'all later, y'all. Y'all have a good one. This is your boy Lincoln Clay. I'm on out of here, y'all. Y'all be easy.